It's June 27th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a deadly chemical attack, an impossible solo voyage across the world's oceans, and a commuter train turned into devastation. Let's begin. On June 27, 1994, a quiet neighborhood in Matsumoto, Japan, was settling into the night. Then, around 10:40 p.m., something invisible began moving through the streets. It came from a converted refrigerator truck parked near the Kaichi Heights residential area. Inside, members of a doomsday cult, the Shinrikyo, were releasing sarin gas into the air. Their target was not the neighborhood itself. They were trying to kill 3 judges who were expected to rule against the cult in a local real estate case. But the wind carried the poison beyond its intended path, drifting through homes, windows, and streets, where people had no idea they were breathing in the danger. 8 people died, and more than 500 were harmed, but the horrors did not end there. Instead of immediately suspecting the cult, police were forced to use a local man's name. He was falsely accused and publicly blamed. For nearly a year, the real attackers remained hidden. And because they weren't stopped, they grew bolder, and 9 months later, they struck again in the Tokyo subway. On June 27, 1898, a small boat slipped into Newport, Rhode Island, carrying a man named Joshua Slocum. 3 years earlier, he had left Boston alone in the Spray, a 37-foot oyster sloop he had rebuilt with his own hands. Ahead of him were 46,000 nautical miles of empty ocean. No radio, no engine, no rescue crews waiting. Slocum across the Atlantic, fought through the Strait of Magellan, survived violent storms, crossed the Pacific and Indian Oceans, rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and came back across the Atlantic Ocean towards home. He guided himself with a compass, a sextant, a tin clock, and dead reckoning. Even stranger, reportedly, he did not know how to swim. He faced pirates, deadly seas, lonely nights, where one mistake could erase him completely. But on June 27th, he returned alive, and Joshua Slocum had become the first person to sail alone around the world. Years later, the sea would take him back. He vanished on another voyage, leaving behind no body, no wreck, and no final answers. On June 27, 1988, a commuter train was rolling past Paris's Gare de Lyon when a simple emergency stop began turning into a nightmare. A passenger had pulled the emergency brake outside of the station, forcing the train to halt. But when the driver tried to reset the system, something went terribly wrong. The main brake valve accidentally closed. Air bled from the brakes, and suddenly the train could barely stop at all. Ahead was a busy underground terminal at the bottom of a steep approach. The train began to pick up speed as it descended into Paris. The driver realized that the brakes were gone and sent out a desperate radio warning. The alarm system canceled the runaway train's route to an empty platform and sent it towards an occupied track instead. Inside the parked train, the driver stayed in his cab, ordering the passengers to evacuate. Moments later, the runaway train slammed into it at more than 70 kilometers per hour. And 56 people died. The driver, who stayed behind to warn them, was among them. France's deadliest peacetime railway disaster began with one emergency brake pull. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next Eerie dose is just a day away.